The SF-26 weighs only 770 kilograms, just 2 kilos above the legal minimum. Already lighter than Mercedes by 2 kilos. That number is confirmed and rewrites the initial narrative of who built the best chassis for 2026 regulations. And what they hid in Barcelona is even more interesting. But before discovering what Ferrari kept hidden, what's the shell fuel problem and what threatens Leclerc? Stay until the end. Because what you'll hear is crucial. 770 kilograms is how much Ferrari's SF-26 weighs with water, oil, and driver on board. And the 2026 minimum weight limit is 768. 2 kilos of margin is all that separates the SF-26 from the legal limit. Compared to the Mercedes W17 at 772 kilos, or the Williams FW48 at 772.4, you start seeing why the paddock paid attention when Ferrari's numbers leaked out. Being this close to minimum doesn't just cut time on straights, but gives the engineering team something far more useful: the freedom to choose where the weight goes strategically. Ferrari technical director Loic Serra confirmed the team built the car deliberately underweight so they could distribute ballast exactly where it helps most: lower center of gravity, sharper corner balance, and ability to adjust weight distribution from circuit to circuit, depending on track characteristics. Every 2026 power unit weighs 34 kilograms more than its predecessor due to enlarged MGUK and heavier battery systems. Ferrari compensated through aggressive packaging throughout the entire car. The SF-26 runs a 3,400mm wheelbase, down from 3,600 in 2025. Width dropped from 2,900 to 2,800. Both front and rear suspensions switched to pushrod layout for better aerodynamic efficiency. Ferrari showed up in Barcelona and chose not to run their final sustainable fuel blend from Shell. The fuel existed, Shell had it ready, and the FIA had granted temporary exemption, allowing teams to test on non-compliant fuels during shakedown. Ferrari took that exemption and used it deliberately, which means every lap time the SF-26 posted in Barcelona came on fuel that won't be legal when the season starts. This is a massive unknown variable. Shell chose a fundamentally different development path from every other fuel supplier on the grid. Mercedes runs Petronas, Red Bull uses ExxonMobil, and Aston Martin partners with Aramco. All developed synthetic e-fuels through chemical reactions, reintroducing captured carbon dioxide. Shell went with advanced biofuels generated from organic waste, an entirely separate chemistry with different characteristics. Reports from the paddock describe Shell's sustainable fuel as the least advanced among all suppliers, and that label carries weight toward Bahrain when the mandatory fuel becomes reality. Aramco's position looks particularly strong in comparison. During the 2025 season, Aramco supplied 100% sustainable fuel to all 52 cars competing in Formula 2 and Formula 3, which means they already have real-world combustion data from a complete championship season. Haas ran between 387 and 391 laps through Barcelona shakedown, third highest among all 10 teams, which is remarkable for a customer team. What Haas team principal Ayao Komatsu voluntarily said about Ferrari's power unit carried more weight than any official press release from Maranello. Through 3 days running, Haas never experienced severe power unit problem, never stopped on track due to engine issues. After Barcelona, Haas driver Esteban Ocon revealed something concerning that during qualifying simulation runs he had to execute lift and coast, not during race stints managing tires and fuel, but during a single flying lap. The exact moment in Formula 1 when a driver is supposed to push flat out without compromises. Ocon described the reality in simple terms. Staying full throttle down the straight actually pulls the handbrake at the end because the battery depletes before the braking zone arrives. Here's where alarm bells start ringing loudly at Maranello. Charles Leclerc has a well-documented history of struggling with lift and coast driving throughout his Ferrari career. At the 2025 Singapore Grand Prix, Leclerc received lift and coast instructions at least 16 times during a 62-lap race. That frustration concerned managing fuel and tires. Under 2026 regulations, the same discipline applies to electrical energy management. Red Bull pulled off something quietly historic in Barcelona. The DM01, named tribute to late co-founder Dietrich Mateschitz, represents the first power unit ever built by Red Bull powertrains in partnership with Ford. On its very first outing, the engine ran clean without major issues. Max Verstappen completed approximately 145 laps. Red Bull combined with Racing Bull's 319 laps. Red Bull-powered cars accumulated 622 laps through Barcelona, more than any other new engine manufacturer on the grid. Behind garage doors and away from lap time sheets, a battle is brewing that could reshape the 2026 championship before a single race finishes. Before Christmas, Ferrari, Audi, and Honda sent joint letter to the FIA challenging what they describe as rules exploitation by Mercedes and Red Bull around compression ratios and thermal expansion. Mercedes and Red Bull allegedly designed systems that expand under operational heat, effectively reaching ratios near 18:1 during race conditions, while passing cold static inspections at the legal 16:1 limit. This is the central controversy. The estimated advantage sits between 10 and 15 brake horsepower, which translates to roughly 0.2 to 0.4 of a second per lap. In modern Formula One, that's championship-deciding performance. Here's what we actually know toward February and the season start. The SF-26 is light at 770 kilos. It's reliable after 1,000 combined Ferrari-powered laps, including Haas running, and Lewis Hamilton is immediately fast with the fastest time of the entire Barcelona shakedown testing. These are confirmed facts, not speculation or optimistic interpretation. What remains unknown is whether anything holds when variables change and the real competition begins. The Shell fuel question is the single biggest wildcard hanging over Ferrari. If biofuels can't match Aramco or Petronas e-fuels in raw performance and energy density, Barcelona results become meaningless and the entire equation changes. The lift and coast reality threatens to amplify Leclerc's most documented weakness exactly when he needs it least in his career. The compression ratio dispute could trigger formal protests as early as the Australian Grand Prix on March 6th, throwing the championship into chaos. This is a fascinating situation, but full of unknowns that could swing either direction. The 770-kilo weight is impressive and gives Ferrari enormous flexibility for setup and development. But Shell fuel is a giant unknown that could undermine everything. If Shell can't compete with Aramco in sustainable fuel performance, everything changes and Ferrari's advantage evaporates. And the lift and coast problem for Leclerc is genuinely worrying, considering his well-documented history with this driving style. The compression ratio legal battle could explode the entire season before it even starts properly. Bahrain on February 11th will be the moment of truth for Ferrari. Mandatory sustainable fuel from Shell, aggressive aero package with new solutions, updated floor-bringing performance improvements. Barcelona proved the foundations hold structurally and mechanically. Bahrain will tell us whether the house Ferrari's building on top can actually stand when everything comes together. If you enjoyed discovering Ferrari's weight advantage, the Shell fuel problem, and the threat facing Leclerc, let me know which variable worries you most toward Bahrain. The weight is impressive, the reliability proven, but those fuel and lift and coast unknowns could determine whether Ferrari fights for wins or struggles in midfield. February 11th can't come soon enough to get real answers about where this SF-26 truly stands when all variables align and the championship actually begins for real.